Hi, welcome on my channel. Today we're gonna continue the first part that I've already uploaded on my channel. It's about the whole process of getting a software developer job from totally beginner level. So let's move on to the video. If you didn't watch first part in which I talk about the every step I took, every decision I made in order to get a software developer job, I strongly encourage you to watch it for you to have context about my history, about my journey, because this video will be the analysis. So in order to understand everything which I will cover today, you should watch the first part. So the first step, first course, Java programming course. This course, in my opinion, was very valuable and good course, because this course is highly oriented on practice. So you solve practical problems there. It's not video oriented, that you watch some videos and you see, for example, some other programmers doing the work for you and you just watch him or her programming. And this is not this type of the course. This course offers very practical exercises and is free. So I strongly encourage you to do that course if you are at the beginning of your journey and you want to go into backend position. I strongly encourage you to do it, because Java language, starting with Java language, also I think it's very good idea, because Java is maybe not hard, but comparing to some other languages like Python or JavaScript, Java is quite hard comparing to them. And if you know Java, if you learn Java as your first language, other languages will be more easy for you to understand and to learn. So I think that is great start, really great start. So we covered the course and we covered the first part of my journey, which was learning the programming language. And as I said in the first part, learning only programming language is not enough to get a job. Like it's almost not possible to get a job only with the knowledge of the programming language. Maybe if you know that programming language that good, you learn, for example, for 2 years, and you are the expert at some one programming language, maybe. But if you know the fundamentals, and the strong fundamentals and some more advanced concepts, it's not enough for you to get a job. That is why when I was sending some CVs, when I was applying to the companies, I didn't get any answers, because it's just not enough set of skills in order to bring some value to the company and do some project in the company and bring some real world value and solve some problems that may appear in the company in a certain project. So programming language is the fundamental skill that you have to know, and you start from that, but you have to be aware that after learning that language, you should not give up, and after some rejections or not getting any answers, you should feel completely okay with that and move on to the next step, which is framework or SQL. Me personally, I started with SQL immediately after learning first language, so after learning Java. And you can learn, for example, firstly you can learn some framework, for example Spring Framework, Spring Boot. If I look back, maybe I could instantly learn some framework, but in my opinion it's better to firstly learn SQL, because you know some basics, the basic query of SQL, for what the SQL is and why do we use it later in the applications. So this is very important, and I strongly encourage you also to look at W3 schools. Maybe there are also some other popular free courses, but this is free course, so I don't see anything that you know could potentially stop you from doing that free course. There is, I think, no need to do some paid or some advanced course from SQL at the beginning of your journey. So after completing that course, I started doing tasks on LeetCode, and I would personally skip that step if I will be doing it again. I will skip the step doing the tasks at LeetCode. Maybe I will practice 2 or 3 days, just, you know, pure SQL, because there are more advanced queries that I did not understand, like group by or having some more advanced tools in SQL that I did not understand. That's why I started LeetCode. But if I were in your shoes, I would probably do 2 or 3 days just to get to know a little bit more in practice using SQL. So next, after LeetCode, it took me, for example, I think 1 or 2 months to complete. You know, I was on LeetCode doing Java tasks and SQL tasks. As I said, skip that step because, in my opinion, it's not important to get the job. It's nice, it was fun, but it's not important. You know, you probably also care about getting a job, not necessarily getting fun. But if you want, you know, to have fun, you can do tasks and exercises at LeetCode because they are interesting, and you can practice some concepts there. But it's not important step if we talk about, you know, getting a job. Then I learned Git and GitHub. It was some course about Git and GitHub. There is plenty of courses. I think that it's also good to watch Git and GitHub on YouTube, and, you know, then after watching, practice it on your computers, because as a programmers we use Git all the time. But the truth is, many developers say that it's worth using Git in terminal, in console, but it's worth it. Obviously, it's worth skill. But if we talk about maximizing your potential and minimizing the time for you to get a job, I would not focus on that, like very strict writing comments in terminal. Just learn basics of Git and GitHub, and then in the tools like IntelliJ IDEA or in the, you know, IDEs, there is graphical interface of Git, which is very good and easy, and you don't have to, you know, write the commands it's yourself, you know, in the terminal. For example, I learned these terminal commands and I know how to use it, but on daily basis in my work I use graphical interface in IDEs because it's just simpler and faster. So I would also not spend much time here, you know, learning the commands in Git and, you know, practicing them for a few weeks. Then I started learning Spring Boot, Hibernate and MySQL on Udemy. It was a course from Chad Derby, and I think, quite honestly, that it was not that bad course. I mean, I have problem with this type of course that, you know, you watch something and you not many people don't necessarily then practice it themselves on the computers, you know. The best courses are the ones in which they require you to practice and, you know, to do the work yourself on the computers, because if you do that, your brain remembers the code and remembers the concepts. Then, you know, your brain learns fastest if you do that. So if you watch the video and you don't then practice, it makes no sense, because you're gonna forget most of the knowledge that is in the videos. But if you are kind of person who practice then after watching the videos, this course will gonna be good for you, because he teaches Spring Boot and Hibernate and MySQL in I would say valuable and good way. So So you can look at it on Udemy. You have to sign up a new account, and you will have a discount, because normally this course is something around 70 or 60, $70. But if you sign up a free account, you have discount, and it costs probably something around $10. So there is no need to overspend, your money. And I strongly encourage you to do this course on Udemy, or find some other courses that require you to practice manually on your computers. But obviously, if you want to learn Java, Spring Boot is a must. Every job offer requires Spring Boot knowledge, because it's the most popular framework in Java language, and without Spring framework I would not do any single project, because it don't make sense, because Spring Boot is the most popular framework in Java language, and without it you're not gonna be you're not gonna be complete developer. I mean, in commercial projects I use Spring Boot all the time in Java language, so there is no way that you're not gonna use Spring framework in Java web projects. This, what I described, if you have this kind of knowledge, you are complete potential junior developer. And if you know, in my case, Java and SQL, GitHub and Spring framework, Hibernate and MySQL, if we would like to say it in general, not only in Java language, you should know some backend programming language or front-end programming language. Then you should learn, if you go to backend position, you should learn SQL for sure. If you learn front-end, not necessarily. Then GitHub, always, this is a must. Then some framework to the language. So for example, if you learn Python, it can be Django. If you wanna go into web development, if you learn TypeScript, it can be Angular. Depending on the programming language, but the concept is the same. Programming language, GitHub, maybe databases, if you're going into backend, and obviously framework. And that's pretty much it. Then the more things you can always learn in a new job. There will always be things and tools that you're gonna learn in your new job. This is obvious, but this is a set of skills that you need to have in order to get a job, to bring some value into the company. And during that learning process, I was sending the CVs all the time. And if you would ask, was it worth it, spending this time on sending CVs? Because, I spent some time, some real probably 30 or 40 hours, only on sending CVs. This time could go into learning some other thing, but yes, I think that it's worth it, because thanks to that you see what companies require you to know, what tool, what kind of technologies, and this is good because you get to know the market, and you are aware of the company's requirements, and this is good, really valuable skill also, because thanks to that you know in which direction to turn. But the problem is not to spend too much time on this process, because if you are not on the step in which you know programming language, no framework, no GitHub, maybe databases, and you don't have some real projects in your portfolio, I would not spend too much time on this process of sending CVs to the companies, because that will be waste of the time. I would send them, and I would send them, but as I said, not too much time on it. I would spend much more time on it after completing the real projects. You have set of skills, you have set of technologies, and you send CVs with your real projects. Like, you have projects in your portfolio, you are proud of them, and you describe them you describe them very deeply in your CV. You describe the set of technologies you have, and important is is to personalize the CV to the every job offer, because interviewers see, if you send one CV on hundreds of to the hundreds of companies, they will see it. It's important to customize CV into every job offer, because you maximize the potential, you maximize the chances of you to for the not getting a job, but for potential getting a job, because after sending the CV they will for example invite you to the interview. So you maximize your potential, you maximize your chances. This is important. We should say a few more words about projects, because projects are type of thing in which you should spend, I would say, from 1 month to 3 months at least, because you have to put some time and effort into these projects, because it's gonna be the proof that you have these skills, you have this knowledge, and it's important not to skip that step or do that step quickly just to have these projects, because it's gonna be the thing thanks to which you can be invited to interview and then get a job. So don't skip that step and put time and effort into this step. You're probably gonna ask, because in the first part and the second part there is title that I did not have any experience and degree. The degree thing is tricky, because actually I was on 3rd semester of the computer science, but the truth is that I didn't have degree, because you can have degree after 3.5 years. You can be Bachelor of Computer Science, and then after another 1.5 you can be Master of Computer Science. So as I said, that's why I named it, that's why I gave it in title that no degree, because I was not even after 2nd year of computer science. It was my 1.5 year on the university, and I didn't have any experience. I have only some customer service job that I wrote it in the CV just to put that I used English there, because English is very valuable in IT industry. So I wrote that I used it, and that gave me some understanding of working, of teamwork and working with clients. And remember, it's worth putting in CV if you had some position, had some job, at least related to some teamwork, or something that you can tell potential company that will hire you that you are worth, because I didn't have any experience in IT, and even in IT related company and industry, but it's worth putting such experiences into CV and highlight things which can potentially be benefit, like for example teamwork, or using English, or meeting deadlines, or working under pressure. These are the things that are worth highlighting in CV. So summing up, remember, if you have no degree, no experience, it's totally fine. Nowadays in the IT industry, companies don't strictly require degree or prior experience. So obviously it's hard to get a job. You have to be good and have good CV and have something that others don't have, but it's possible. It's really possible if you put time and effort into that. It's really not that hard as you think. Not that hard, but you have to put time and not give up after, for example, learning only programming language, and you could think that it's weird that you not gonna have any invitations on the interviews. It's totally normal. As I said, as I described, this is the process. now, you know, there are many bootcamps and companies coaches that want to learn, want to teach the potential candidates, but the truth, and they also say that, you know, they're gonna teach you from 3 or 6 months to get a job, and in my opinion it's not true, it's not possible. Maybe it's possible in some scenarios, but I would say, like, realistic scenario is that you should learn 1 year, something around that. After 1 year, it's totally possible. Even maybe a little bit less, for example, 10 months, it's possible, but you have to, you know, you have to be more consistent in your journey. So I would say 1 year on average is very, very possible scenario for you to get a job. That will be all for this second part of describing the process of becoming a software developer. If you have some questions, if I missed something or skipped something and you don't have really understanding on some certain topic, feel free to ask. Also, you can leave some ideas on next videos if you have some questions. If you have some topics we can discuss, feel free to leave a comment below. I will answer on every comment. And if you liked the video, hit the like button. Also, you can subscribe this channel not to miss any new videos, and see you in next one.